Hello everybody and welcome to History Bite number 155, dated January the 9th, 2021. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. This History Bite is entitled President John Tyler, a Traitor to the United States. Most Americans have never even heard of President Tyler, let alone know anything about the man per se, his presidency, or his treachery later on in life. Indeed, John Tyler was the 10th President of the United States of America, serving from April of 1841 until March of 1845. His presidency was pretty unremarkable, with the primary feature of excitement being the stage being set for the annexation of Texas. All right. It was begun under Tyler and completed under Polk, his successor in office. Tyler was an interesting man. He fathered more children than any other president, 15, and those were just his declared children. In all likelihood, he probably had other undeclared children by at least one of his slaves, but that, of course, has been disputed by the Tyler family and was certainly disputed by Tyler himself in his lifetime. 'Tis no matter. That's not what we're here to talk about, though. Tyler could arguably best be remembered as the president who set the precedent for secession to office when an incumbent president dies. Indeed, John Tyler was the first person to become president of the United States via the death of an incumbent. He was William Henry Harrison's vice president, and with Harrison's death just 30 days into his term in April of 1841, Tyler, as per the Constitution, being that he was vice president, ascended to the presidency. All right? And there was a lot of legal confusion at the time to whether or not Tyler was then just acting president until the next election, which wouldn't be until 1844, or whether or not he was now the full new president. Okay, and Tyler, never shy about his words, declared he was the actual new president, not any acting president. And thus he set the precedent for all future individuals who would become president of the United States when an incumbent president died. Okay, of course, the matter was fine-tuned quite well with the 25th Amendment to the Constitution, which of course did not exist in that era. All right, so that's known as the Tyler precedent. All right, he's the one that set that. Have to give credit where it's due. So Tyler left the presidency in March of 1845, having been dumped by his own Whig party for being very uncooperative. All right, after he left the White House, he retired back to his plantation and assumed the lifestyle of a gentleman planter. Nothing weird or unusual about that. He wasn't exactly the most sought-after ex-president or public figure, He wasn't exactly the easiest man to get along with at times, but as he grew older, his stature also grew with time, like a lot of former presidents. As we move on into the 1850s and into the early 1860s, you're quite familiar that the nation was becoming more and more divided over the issue of slavery, and with the election of President Lincoln Abraham Lincoln in 1860, we see the actual footprints in front of us leading to the Civil War, breaking out only a few months later. All right. So with Abraham Lincoln's election, of course, several deep southern states passed ordinances of secession to leave the United States. All right. In February of 1861, Tyler was selected to be a member of the Virginia Peace Conference, which vainly attempted to persuade the upper and middle South not to follow the same course as the lower South and secede from the Union. Tyler himself opposed almost each and every one of the resolutions put forth by the conference because he viewed the measures as being too favorable to the North. keep in mind, even though Tyler was a former president of the United States, above all, you have to understand the mindset of Americans in the 19th century. Their loyalty was to their state just as much as it was to the country, if not more to their state, all right? And so Tyler's loyalty was to Virginia and its slaveocracy, all right? And Tyler certainly was going to work more for Virginia's interests than the national interests, being that he was out of office. And, he supported, low key, he supported secession, all right? So it's no surprise that at the same time he was selected to be on this peace commission, he was also elected to the Virginia Secession Convention, all right, and presided over its opening conference, all right. This is in February of 1861. Same time he's a member of the peace conference. He's doing both at the same time, but you can clearly see where his sympathies lie. Okay, so Tyler, is ahead of the game with respect to secession. He's supporting secession even more than many other Virginians are, much more moderate Virginians. Like I said, Virginia is part of the Upper South, just below Maryland, okay, just below Washington, D.C. So Virginia was kind of divided, and so initially Virginia opposed secession. When the convention voted for the first time in early April 1861 to secede from the Union, Tyler was in the minorities. He voted for secession, all right? The majority voted against, okay? So he was on the losing side. However, things changed dramatically after the firing on Fort Sumter on April 12, 1861, when President Lincoln then called for troops. All right, all patriotic Americans, it's time to serve and put down the Southern Rebellion. That was a move that provoked virtually the rest of the Middle and Upper South, with the exception of a couple states, to secede from the Union. All right, when another vote for secession was taken on April 17, 1861, a few days after the firing on Fort Sumter, Tyler was in the majority this time, as the vast majority of delegates to the Virginia Secession Convention voted to leave the United States. All right, and that was that. Tyler would sign Virginia's Declaration of Secession in June of 1861, or Ordinance of Secession, whatever you'd like to call it, same thing essentially. And not long thereafter, he would be elected to the Provisional Confederate Congress. Okay? He would serve in that position as a member of the Provisional Confederate Congress from August of 1861 until January of 1862. Now, if you're thinking at this point, like, dude, what the heck is wrong with you? You're a former president. And now you're taking an oath of loyalty to the Confederacy? What the hell? What? Really? Gangster is all I can say. President Tyler was quite gangster, all right, in doing this, okay? So, again, Tyler served as a member of the Provisional Confederate Congress from August of 1861 until January of 1862. In November of 1861, Tyler was elected a member of the Congress of the House of Representatives for the Confederacy, the Confederate House of Representatives, their version of the U.S. House of Representatives. So he was elected a congressman for the Confederacy. This is a former president of the United States, elected a congressman for the Confederacy. If you find that deep, so do I. All right? So Tyler was elected as a member of the Confederate House of Representatives, November of 1861. But before he could dig his hole of treachery any deeper, Tyler died in January of 1862 at the age of 71. Just 1 month before he would have been able to take his seat in February of 1862 as a member of the House of Representatives for the Confederate States of America from Virginia. All right? So, only through death did Tyler not become a full member of the Confederate government. Okay? Death saved him from enhancing the level of his treason. All right? Had death not intervened, Tyler would have been the only American president in history to serve as a member of a foreign government, the Confederate House of Representatives. All right? The equivalent of a member of the U.S. House of Representatives on our side. All right? So Tyler would have been a full-fledged Confederate, but as far as I'm concerned, and as far as most historians are concerned, his oath of loyalty, quite simply, and serving as a member of the Provisional Confederate Congress and the Virginia Secession Convention, binds him as being a loyal member of the Confederacy. A loyal member of the Confederate nation. He helped to create the Confederate nation. He negotiated Virginia's terms of joining the Confederacy, okay? And took an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the Confederate States of America. This is a former president of the United States taking an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the Confederate States of America. If you find that appalling, so do I. And thus, that is why President John Tyler was, ladies and gentlemen, and still is recognized by some of us as a traitor to the nation he once led. Okay? With Tyler's death and his oath of allegiance to the Confederacy, he thus became the only American president in history not to be given a state funeral. All right? Additionally, he also became the only American president in history who had his coffin draped in a Confederate flag. A sign of treason, a sign of disloyalty. Okay? Tyler, thus, while already a low-ranked American president, sealed the deal and added to his reputation being even lower by committing an act of treason in taking an oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the Confederate States of America. All right? So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why President John Tyler is a traitor to the nation he once led. A traitor no better than Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and a whole litany of other former Americans who decided to sell out their country and commit treason. So if you have any questions or controversies, please leave them down below and I'll be happy to answer them. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, just hit that little red subscribe button and that little bell and we're in business. All right? Thanks again for listening. Take care. Stay safe out there and I'll talk to you at the next bite. Peace.